think there's got to be some proof up as to the other parties on the case. May I be dismissed at the end of the portion that deals with my client?
Fine with me.
Does that make okay?
Yeah, I have no problem with that.
Thank
I object.
It's not nice, Brooks.
Overruled.
Just had a final civil commitment hearing with Judge Martindale a minute ago here in the parking lot, and there were some words from my client. My goodness, Shirley had fun with that record this morning. I've never heard vulgarities quite like that.
We're here today in each case for a final. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. And we are live streaming. Ms. Galvan's making our record this morning. All right, we'll take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Ryan Turman for respondent mother, Leah Garcia. We are both present and ready.
Brooks Barfield for Humberto Medina, present and ready.
Your Honor, I'm Tate Eldridge. I represent the unknown father in 97415. I'm ready.
Stacey Sabella on behalf of the kids.
All right, then. Mr. Trout.
Yes, Your Honor. As far as Mr. Turman's client, mother, Ms. Garcia, we did go to mediation last week. Those mediated settlement agreements should be getting filed. Placement, we were going to get placement signature on there, and she's been having trouble with the DocuSign side of it, so we're trying to get that figured out. But other parties have signed, with the exception of Mr. Barfield, because his client and Mr. Eldridge, their clients weren't there, or Tate did sign, but for the unknown father. But we came to an agreement with mother, and the agreement with her is that the department should be named permanent managing conservator. Both children will be staying with placement until the time where placement can get their qualification for the Permanency Care Assistance, the PCA program. Once that's happened, we'll transfer PMC from the department to placement, and the department would be dismissed out at that time. Mother would remain possessory of the child, or of both children. She should have supervised visits with the children 4 hours a week, unless otherwise agreed by mother, and supervised visits would be every Tuesday and Thursday from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. They'll be supervised by placement Connie Chavez, who was also at the mediation. Should Ms. Chavez be unavailable to supervise, any alternate supervisor will be approved by the department, as long as the department maintains conservatorship. Visits should occur at the residence of placement unless a different location is agreed upon by mother and placement. Before PMC is swapped over to Ms. Chavez from the department, we'll hold another settlement conference or mediation in order to lay out visitation plan at that time, because it'll be a few months down the road before this happens. Respondent mother will pay child support of $276 for both children. Commencing.
Did you say 276?
Yes, ma'am. 276 total. That will start on September 1st. The mother will pay medical support of $25 per child, commencing on September 1st. And the alleged fathers and unknown were not at the mediation, so there's no agreement with them. We'll proceed on our hearing today with the fathers.
All right. Let me just ask then, Mr. Turman, is this your client's agreement?
Yes, Judge, it is.
Okay, and Mr. Eldridge, if you signed off on the order, you're good with this?
I am. I don't have a position on it, really.
Yeah. Okay. All right, Ms. Zavala, do you believe that this is in the best interest of the children?
I do. The children are doing really well in placement. I think this is a good agreement in their best interest to keep mom involved in their lives, and to keep them with family.
Okay. All right, then I guess Mr. Turman, you're free to go.
Thank you, Judge. I did have a request on this. Well, I don't know if the court intended on keeping counsel for Ms. Garcia beyond this hearing, but if so, I was wondering if the court might be willing to substitute me since I'm trying to sort of whittle down my CPS cases.
I mean, I am certainly willing to substitute someone in. I think for purposes of what's going to come in the next 6 months or so, it probably would be beneficial for her to continue to have an attorney. So, I'll have Ms. Katie make a substitution. So Ms. Garcia, there'll be a new attorney assigned to you. But that'll at least, I think, be of assistance to you till we see this to a conclude, this is a final order, but till we see permanency for the children.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you, Judge. Take care, everybody.
Okay, then, Mr. Trout, you can call your first witness.
Call Alexis Valenzuela, Your Honor. And are you familiar with the cases we're here on today?
Yes, I was the investigator assigned to the case.
How did the department become involved in these cases?
We received intakes regarding concerns of methamphetamine use in the home.
And you were here just a second ago and heard us announce an agreement with mother in this case. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. And so were you able to meet with mother and either any of the fathers?
I'm sorry, you cut out on that last part.
Sorry, were you able to meet during your investigation? Were you able to meet with the mother or either one of the fathers?
Initially, I met with Isaiah's Ortha. That was towards the beginning of the first intake that we received, but I have not been able to meet with who was identified as Jalen's father, Humberto Medina.
Okay. At any time during your investigation, were you ever able to meet with him, Humberto?
No, sir, it was not.
Okay. So what did the intake involve?
The first intake we received, there was concerns of methamphetamine use and I believe domestic violence as well. Both things that I talked to the family about. In the second intake we got, there were concerns of prenatal drug use.
Okay. So the first intake came in regarding Jalen, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. When you met with mom, you said Mr. Orta was also there?
Yes, he was.
During your investigation and during that case, did Mr. Orta admit to anything?
Yes, he admitted to methamphetamine use.
Okay. Did they ever admit to drug use inside the home?
Miss Garcia did. Mr. Ortha did not.
Okay. And mother was the second intake involving the Orta child came in at a later date. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
Okay. Mother was currently pregnant at the time?
Yes.
Okay. Due to admittance of methamphetamine use, did the department try to reach any agreement with the parents in order to prevent a removal?
Yes. At my first initial contact with the family, I did.
Okay. And then what steps did you go through with that?
We discussed a safety plan, and typically what that looks like for us. And in this case is, I talked to the parents about being supervised. So having 24/7 supervision around the child. They did provide a family member. When I spoke with that family member, she did tell me that she was not able to do it full time. But she also had a daughter at the house. And so, whenever I talked to her, that family member about her supervising when the grandmother couldn't, they were not willing to give out any identifying information so we could run background checks. I was thankfully able to go back through our system and look through history. And that aunt who would have been the backup caregiver, she had department history that was concerning, so we could not allow her to supervise.
Okay. So just to clarify on that, the one name you got was not able to do it full time and the backup caregiver would not have been approved.
That's correct.
Okay. Did you go through any other steps trying to prevent the removal at that time besides doing the safety plan?
Well, I was on the phone trying to speak with my supervisor about what we needed to do next. And at that point, I observed Mr. Ortha, Miss Garcia, and Jalen in the car. I did go up to the car and try to talk to them and ask them to stay at the house until we could kind of figure out more of a plan. And they left the residence in the car.
Okay. And where did they go?
They went to Mr. Ortha's mom's home. So that would have been paternal grandmother.
Okay. And is this the same person that was not able to watch them full time?
That's correct.
Okay. Were you able to make contact with them at that home?
Yes.
Okay. Were you able to speak to the parents at that home?
No, I did not speak with the parents. I spoke with the aunt.
Okay. And is this the aunt that would not have been approved?
That's correct.
Okay. And due to admittance of drug use in the home and around, mother being pregnant at the time with the Ortha child, did, without being able to find a appropriate caregiver to help to prevent the removal, was it determined to try to remove the child at that time, to file for removal?
That's correct. Yes.
As far as the Ortha child, when was the Ortha child born during your investigation?
I received that intake January 15th, 2023.
Okay. And as far as Ishmael Ortha, the father that you had met with, Azias Ortha, was the alleged father?
That's correct.
Okay. And that's the same Mr. Ortha who had admitted to drug use?
Yes, that's correct.
Did he tell you how often he used?
When I initially talked to him, he had talked about last using about a week ago when I initially met with him, and then it was 2 to 3 days a week.
Okay. And was child tested at the hospital?
Yes.
Okay. And was the results from that concerning?
Yes.
And mother had admitted to using during pregnancy, is that correct?
Yes.
Due to parents admitting to drug use, child having positive results, and not being able to find Mr. Umberto and no appropriate caregiver, was a decision made to remove both children?
Yes.
And based upon those findings during your investigation, do you believe that was in the best interest of the children?
I do. Yes.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Barfield?
At any time, have you had any contact with Humberto Medina throughout this case?
I have not had any contact with him. No, sir.
Okay. Would you have any ideas to his whereabouts?
The last information that I received from Miss Garcia was that she thought that he was maybe in the Odessa area, but she did not have any locating information for him.
Has Mr. Medina worked any services that you're aware of, to your knowledge, in this case?
I'm sorry, you'll have to repeat that. I think my
I'm
connection
sorry.
is.
To your knowledge, has Mr. Medina made any efforts to contact you, or have you, or anything of that nature?
No, sir, not to my knowledge.
I'll pass with.
All right, Ms. Zavala? Or sorry, I'm sorry, Mr. Eldridge.
I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
Okay, all right, Ms. Zavala?
No questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Trout, anything further?
One other question, Your Honor. Ms. Alexis, on the father, Azias Ortha, you spoke to him at the beginning of the case. Did you have any other contact with him after that?
No, sir, I did not. I do know towards the end of that investigation around February 13th, I did speak with Miss Garcia, and I was informed that Mr. Ortha had left to New Mexico a few days prior to that.
Okay. And so after your initial contact through your part of the investigation in this case, there was no other contact with him?
That's correct.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody else have any further questions for Ms. Valenzuela?
No further questions, Your Honor.
All right, any objection to her being released?
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
No objection.
All right, Ms. Valenzuela, thank you for your time this morning. You're free to go on about your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, you can call your next witness.
Call Erica Flores, and how are you familiar with those cases?
I am their caseworker.
What does St. Francis do when they begin a case, when you first get a case?
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
What are your first steps in case working once you receive a case?
Oh, we just, whenever I got the kiddos, I just run through everything, make sure, father, mother are present. I visit the kiddos, I visit parents, just make sure they're doing their services.
Okay. You weren't the initial caseworker on this, correct?
No,
Okay. In your records, does it state whether the previous caseworker had any contact with either one of the fathers?
no,
Since you have been on the case, have you had any contact with either one of the fathers in this case?
no, sir.
Have you discussed with mother contact information or possible contact information with Humberto Medina?
Yes.
And has she been able to provide you any help in finding him?
No, the last whereabouts of Humberto Medina were in Lubbock, and I did go to the address and he was no longer there.
Okay. And he is an alleged father in this case, is that correct?
Yes.
How often do you try to find him?
I just ran an accurate search on Medina last month, and those resulted in the same results as the last accurate search.
Okay. How often do you run the accurate searches?
At least monthly.
Okay. And throughout this case, nothing new has come back besides the addresses you have checked?
Yes, sir.
Any email addresses, social media, phone numbers?
There was that's how I found him, was through a business that he owned. It was called Tree Guys. I went to that, got the phone number. That phone number was no longer working either.
Okay. And when you say found him, you mean found possible contact information?
Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
Okay. As far as Isaias Orta, same kind of questions. Have you had any contact with him?
No, sir.
Do you run searches looking for him?
Yes, sir.
Has anything new come up?
No, sir.
Has mother been able to help find him?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you know where he is at this time? Do you have any idea?
I believe it was a couple of months ago he was arrested here in Amarillo.
Sure.
I did call, believe it was Potter County. They provided me with the phone number. By the time that I got around to the phone number, it was no longer working, or the one he provided was not a working phone number.
Okay. And was he out of jail before you were able to get there to meet with him?
Yes, sir. He had met with the judge on a Saturday, I believe, and
Okay.
got out.
And so during that arrest, you were never able to make any kind of contact or phone call with him?
No, sir.
And since he was out, do you know if he's still in the Amarillo area, or if he is?
I do not know.
Okay. During the beginning of cases, does the department or St. Francis generate service plans?
Yes.
And what are service plans?
It's just a family plan of service for parents, like parents, parent classes for parents, drug screens, just to help them with the process of reunifying their children.
Okay. So it is services to help the parents function better with raising the children?
Yes.
And gives them an opportunity to work toward reunification?
Yes.
Were family plans generated for the parents in this case?
Yes.
Were they generated for Mr. Medina?
Yes.
And were they generated for Mr. Orta?
Yes.
Were those filed with the court?
Yes, sir.
And what type of services would they have been had you been able to find them, were they asked to do?
Let's see. We would have had them do, let me see. Since we did not know the parents, they would have been drug screening monthly, evaluation, parenting classes, individual counseling. Given the history of the known drug use, we would have required TPs, Texas Panhandle Centers, NAAA. And I believe, and that's just, and then just the basics of just maintaining contact with the caseworker.
And were those family plans filed with the court?
Yes,
And were they made in order of the court?
yes,
Your Honor, I would ask to admit exhibits number G1 and exhibit number O1, which was sent out. They are the family plans of service that were generated for each father, alleged father.
No objection.
Objection.
No objection.
All right, then D1 and O1 will be admitted.
Sorry, Judge, G1.
G, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that would have made sense.
Yeah.
I thought I heard D. So anyway, okay, G1 and O1.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. Flores, throughout the case, does either alleged father work any services?
no, sir,
Have they had any visitations or contact with the child?
no,
Do you know at this time if either father would be able to provide a safe and stable environment for the child?
no,
And has the department attempted to provide resources for them to work toward reunification?
yes,
Have they availed themselves of that?
no,
Have we been in this case longer than 6 months?
yes,
Was there paternity registry searches run?
yes.
Did you receive what I sent out, exhibit G2 and exhibit O2?
I'm trying to exhibit 2. Is it the paternity registry search?
Correct. And were those file marks stamped?
Yes,
Right corner, filed with the court?
yes,
And does either one of those paternity registry searches state that there was anybody intended to claim paternity of Ishmael or Jalen?
no,
Your Honor, I'd ask to admit exhibits O2 and G2, which are the paternity registry searches that were filed with the court on June 20th of 2023. That was just testified to, stating that nobody has intended to claim paternity.
No objection.
No objections.
All right, then petitioner's exhibits G2 and O2 will be admitted.
Thank you, ma'am. Ms. Flores, you heard us state earlier, there's an agreement with mom will have possessory rights and the department would agree to PMC until a date when we can transfer the PMC over to placement. Is that correct?
yes, sir,
And the children have been with placement for a while.
yes.
And how are they doing?
They are doing amazing. They're thriving. They're doing great. Ishmael is almost running all over the place. So, and Jalen is doing great as well. She's just a firecracker. They're doing great. Caregiver does really good with them.
And you saw them last night?
Yes,
Okay, and everything was going well.
yes, sir.
And visitations with mother have been going well?
Yes, sir.
Do you believe that it'd be in the best interest of the children to follow the settlement agreement to allow mother possessory rights and visitations
Yes,
in the agreement that was announced earlier?
yes,
As far as the fathers, are you asking the court today to terminate the parental rights of Isaiah and Humberto
yes,
and the unknown father or any unknown father?
yes,
And that's based upon failed to register with the paternity registry search
yes, sir.
and the alternative constructive abandonment
Yes,
and failed to work services.
yes, sir.
And do you believe that's in the best interest of the children?
Yes, sir.
I'll pass the witness at this time, Your Honor.
Mr. Barfield?
Yes, ma'am, have you received any information regarding the whereabouts of Humberto Medina?
Just the last time that I went to the Lubbock residence, that was the last whereabouts, and it's still current with his accurate searches.
Okay, and have you had any opportunity to speak with him about this case at all?
No, sir.
Has he, to your knowledge, have you received any communications from him to you inquiring about this case or anything involved in this case?
No, sir.
to your knowledge, has he worked any services or provided any information to you or the department regarding his interest in being part of this case?
No, sir.
Now, when was, you mentioned the Lubbock address, when was that last time that was done?
I want to say that was sometime in February or March.
Okay. Of 2024?
Yes.
Okay. Has anyone or any agent other than myself reached out to you on his behalf, indicating to you or the department that he wanted to work services or be a part of this case?
No, sir.
Okay. Do you have any opinion regarding whether it would be in the best interest of the child if his parental rights were terminated in this case?
Can you repeat the question?
Basically, do you believe he should be named a possessory conservator in this case?
No.
And why is that?
Since I grabbed the case, I have not, and I've reached out to family members of his and gave them my phone number to give me a call, and I have not received anything from Humberto Medina.
Okay. Do you know if he has any type of relationship with his child?
No, he does not.
Do you know if he ever has had any relationship with this child?
I do not know the answer to that question. I believe no.
All right. I'll pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Eldridge.
I don't have any questions, Your Honor.
All right, and Ms. Zavala.
Ms. Flores, Jalen is 4, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And she's been in care for 1.5 years?
Yes.
And during that 1.5 years, there's been no contact at all from Mr. Medina?
No, ma'am.
I pass the witness.
Okay, Mr. Trout, anything further from this witness?
Want to kind of repeat myself on this, Judge, just to make sure that I've said it clearly for the record on this.
Nope, you only get one time today.
Well, I know that talking about 2 different cases at the same time gets a little confusing, so I want to make sure.
That's fine. I'm just giving you a hard time.
Ms. Flores, the department is asking for termination of Ishmael.
Yes.
And Humberto Medina's rights.
Yes.
And also to terminate any unknown father rights to Jalen.
Yes.
And based upon what we discussed earlier, failed to work services, constructive abandonment, and failed to register with paternity registry.
Yes.
And in those respective cases, you believe it is in the best interest of each child to terminate the parental rights of the fathers?
Yes, sir.
I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Okay, anybody else have any questions for the witness?
No, Your Honor.
Nothing further.
Yes. Yes. Okay. 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 So it would be yes, right? Okay.
You're not muted, Erica.
Who's coaching the witness?
No questions.
All right. Okay, Mr. Trout, then you have any further witnesses?
No further witnesses, Your Honor.
Okay. Does the department rest?
Department rest, Your Honor.
Okay, Mr. Barfield, anything to present today?
I have no witnesses. I rest.
Okay, Mr. Eldridge.
I don't have any witnesses either, Your Honor, and I rest as well.
Okay, Ms. Zavala, any witnesses?
No witnesses. I rest.
Ms. Zavala, you have a recommendation to make?
I do, Your Honor. I do believe it's in both children's best interest for the agreement that was previously announced to be in place. I do believe that it is in both children's best interest that both identified potential fathers are terminated, as well as any alleged unknown fathers. The children are placed with family. They are thriving. They've had no contact from any father figures during this time period. I have every belief that placement and mom can work together to create a healthy environment and to keep that healthy environment for the kids. And I do believe all of that is in their best interest.
All right, thank you very much.
Sorry, is it okay if I go off camera? Because I'm about to have to drive to work.
Yes, that's fine.
I have to be at work by 10, so.
That's fine. We're just about done, so.
Okay.
I find by clear and convincing evidence it's in the best interest of terminate the parental rights between the child and her father based on Texas Family Code 161.001 B1, the N and the O grounds, and the best interest of the child under 161.001 B2, as well as his failure to register with the paternity registry under 161.002 B2. I will also now adjudicate Isaias Orta as the father and establish the parent-child relationship between the two of them. And I find by clear and convincing evidence it's in the best interest of the child to terminate the parental rights between the child and his father, Isaias Orta, based on Texas Family Code Section 161.001 B1, the N and the O grounds, and the best interest under 161.001 B2, as well as his failure to register with the paternity registry under 161.002 B2. I also find by clear and convincing evidence it's been in the best interest of both children to terminate any unknown fathers based on their failure to register with the paternity registry under 161.002 B2. At this time, I will name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the permanent managing conservator of both children, and both children will remain in their current placement until placement gets their PCA assistance in place. And then we will transfer at that time permanent managing conservatorship to placement and dismiss the department, although that will be under obviously a modified order.
Yes, ma'am. I'll file a modification.
Mother, at this time, mother will be named as a possessory conservator. We'll have supervised visitation with the children for 4 hours a week as outlined on Tuesdays and Thursdays or as agreed otherwise by the parties. Any alternate supervisor would be approved by the department as long as, of course, the department's PMC. And the parties have agreed to mediate again to iron out any details after the PCA gets approved for placement. All right, mother will be obligated to pay child support in the amount of $276 per month beginning September 1st of 2024, and medical support beginning on the same date, $25 per child per month. And we will substitute an attorney in for Mr. Terman to continue to represent the mother. All other court-appointed attorneys will be dismissed at this time, with the exception, of course, Ms. Zavala will remain in the cases the children's attorney and guardian ad litem. Counsel is always be aware of your de novo time frame since I've rendered an open court. And then additionally, if you're instructed to file any notice of appeal, please do not do so until a final order has been signed and adopted by the referring court. Okay, I appreciate everybody. Thank you all very much. Ms. Garcia, best of luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
He requested me to have an extension to help him.
Okay, which is great.
So, yeah, I have not yet an answer yet, but I'm sure it will be this week or sometimes next week.
You mean as far as a
Yes.
placement with an SIL?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I know he was interested in welding. Is that still kind of his thought?
And also he would like, if possible, if he's not becoming a welder, then he wanted to learn about auto mechanic. So those two.
All right.
And I know, Stacy, about the SIL program with the High Plains. I just noticed that they are open just today. I got an email from our director. So it could be a possibility if I can talk to them about the placement. Sure.
Yeah, and just to clarify, it's with Amarillo Children's Home and it's just open. I know when he was moved, that was not a possibility.
Yes.
he does have family in this area that he's connected with, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so my only request is that we look at that as a possibility. I also think there are some programs through the Workforce Commission and Amarillo College that might help
Yes.
them with the welding and some things like that. So I know at the time that he was moved out of region, that was not a possibility, but my
Yes.
one request is that we look at that as a possibility for him.
Yes, ma'am. I also asked Ethan about, there were a question in the form that which place that he wanted to live, and Amarillo is one of the lists that he wanted to. I know when I talked to his mother preferred for him not to be in Amarillo, but it's all in. Ethan has number one, he wanted to stay in Houston. I think he's kind of liking it, the placement, and also it kind of, he said he likes the placement really, really well in there in Houston. And then second choice is in Amarillo. And then number 3 is Abilene, Texas. So he's still like thinking about it. So
wonderful. And in full disclosure, I've had some difficulty getting a hold of Ethan. So if he himself prefers to be in Houston or someplace else, then wonderful. I just want to make sure that he knows that there may be an option in Amarillo if he wants to consider it.
yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. All right, anybody have anything else?
Real quick, Judge, just for nerdy, once he signs his paperwork and consent for the SIL programs, if you could send that to us, because once he turns 18, we got to do some orders and stuff on that, so we need that paperwork.
Yes, sir. I will.
Send it to myself and Kim.
Yes.
Okay, well, sounds like we're on track. So I will continue the department as his permanent managing conservator until he turns 18, and we'll continue his current placement and then hope that he will have his choice of several different SIL placements. So I think that's really great. He's got some options. So, all right. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Your Honor. Bye, everyone.
Thank
See
you.
you later.
Thank you.
It's encouraging. We've got so many considering extended care and SILs right now.
It's great that we're starting to have a few local options that weren't there before.
Yeah.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of the girls.
All right. And Mr. Trout, what's the status of service, or do you just have some testimony to offer about what notice Dad's been given?
Well, and yes, ma'am. I was just looking again. I don't see that we have Dad served. Mom is here present. We are, after speaking with Mom's attorney, Ms. Gomez, there's an agreement with Mom. We would need to take some testimony on Dad, but as I said, I don't see service being effective on him yet.
Have we had any contact with him?
Let me see. Ms. Braden, have you
Yeah.
been able to contact Dad?
So the day that we removed, or the day after we removed, he spoke with me by phone, and we talked about him coming up to the CPS office, and he never did. I've tried contacting him by phone since then. He's called me and left a voicemail, and anytime I call him back, it was like somebody else's phone that he called me with, and he's no longer with them. So I haven't had successful communication with him.
Okay, but he's obviously aware of the
Yes, he was notified of the removal.
Okay. All right then, Mr. Trout, I'll let you announce what has been agreed, and then we can call the first witness.
Yes, ma'am. As far as with Mom, she's agreed to the department keeping temporary managing conservatorship at this time. We're not asking for child support or medical support right now. Mom's agreed to work services that are listed in the order, but also we will get a service plan built eventually and go over with Mom. As far as Dad, as we said, haven't had really any communication with him. But that is what we have agreed to with Mom. I believe Ms. Gomez also, Mom has given another name of a relative, and they would like a home study done. Ms. Gomez mentioned she may ask for an expedited on that, but I'll let her do that.
All right. Ms. Gomez, can you give me the name of the relative?
Yes, Judge. Cambry
Ramos. Kambry, and then Ramos as it is normally spelled.
And is this a relative?
Yes, Judge, that is my client's sister.
Okay. All right, so maternal aunt to the children.
Yes, Judge.
All right, and Ms. Braden, do you have that information already?
Yes, ma'am. So I've spoken with Ms. Grimes about paternal aunt and maternal aunt. Both of them have been reached out to about the home study process, and all of the information has been passed on to the St. Francis caseworker so she can initiate the home study.
Right. Okay.
I apologize, Judge. I'm not sure if this is the appropriate time to ask, because again, a little fresh to this, but I wanted to bring up the possibility of an expedited home study on both of the aunts, if that is possible.
Let me ask, we usually try to do one at a time. Is there a preference?
We'd prefer Kambry Ramos first.
Okay. So I have no problem ordering that one to be expedited. And should that one not be approved, then we'll launch immediately into the other one. Just because they're expensive, and so we try hard to do it all the time. Doesn't always happen that way.
And Judge, we do a 10-day expedited on that.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Thank you, Judge.
Yeah. The sooner the better. All right. Then with respect to Ms. Grimes, then I'll approve that agreement. And Mr. Trout, if you want to go ahead and call your first witness regarding issues about Mr. Stratton.
Yes, ma'am, Your Honor. I've got Emily Braden.
Okay, and I do have one quick question. Just to be sure. Ms. Grimes, you and Mr. Stratton are not married?
Correct.
Okay. And have you ever been to court before over the children?
No, ma'am.
Okay. All right, just double checking. Okay. All right, you may go ahead, Mr. Trout.
You need to swear in, Ms. Braden, Your Honor.
Oh, I do. I'm
And
so
how
sorry.
are you familiar with that case?
I'm the investigator assigned to the case.
And you were here a second ago when it was announced that mom is in agreement with the department having temporary conservatorship.
Yes.
Okay. And that we need to take some testimony in regards to the alleged father.
Yes.
Okay. During the course of the case, did you learn what the alleged father's name is?
Yes. Destiny identified him as Nicholas Stratton.
Okay. And when you say Destiny, that's Destiny Grimes' mother?
That's correct.
Okay. And during your investigation, did you have any contact with the alleged father?
Prior to the removal, I did not have any contact. I attempted contact and was unsuccessful.
Can you say that one more time at the end?
I attempted contact several times with him during the investigation and was unsuccessful.
Okay. Was that contact made by phone numbers given to you by mother, or how were you trying to contact him?
So mom told me that he didn't have a working phone number at the time. And so we have different search programs that we're able to use. And so based on recent reports, accurate reports, quick find reports, I was able to attempt different addresses for him, as well as recent phone numbers, talking to family members, those kinds of things.
Okay. Is there concerns of possible drug use?
Yes.
From dad?
Yes.
Okay. Any other concerns with dad outside of the drug use?
There's also concerns of domestic violence involving the mom and the dad.
Okay. And were these statements concerns corroborated by statements from mom about that? Okay. Once the removal was effected, did you have any contact with dad at that point to notify him?
Yes, I spoke with him by phone and we discussed him coming up to the CPS office to fill out paperwork and for me to gather information from him, and he never showed.
Okay. When you notified him, how did the conversation go when you notified him?
He was very upset. He was yelling, cussing the entire time, saying that he was going to come pick up the kids from the CPS office.
Okay. Have you heard from him since?
I have. He has called me a couple of times, and anytime I've called him back, I'm unsuccessful.
Okay. So you've actually only been able to talk to him that one time?
That's correct.
Okay. When did that conversation take place?
It happened on June 27th. No, June 28th. I'm sorry. The removal happened on June 27th. I spoke with him on June 28th.
Okay. And the phone numbers, are those his phone numbers, or do you know whose those phones belong to?
The phone numbers that he's been calling me on, they've been friends, I guess, that he's been with, because anytime I've called back, they've said that he's no longer with them. So he's not available.
Okay. Do you know where he is living or staying right now?
I do not.
Okay. When you talked to him, he didn't offer up any information of where you could meet him. He was just going to come to the office?
Yes.
When was your last attempt to try to talk to him?
Yesterday.
Okay. And did you get an answer at all, or was that a friend's number who didn't?
It was a friend's number. The friend told me that he was about to meet Nick for work, and that he would have him call me whenever he got there. I asked him where he worked, and the person wouldn't provide me with information about that.
Okay, so you're still not sure where his job is?
Correct.
Okay. Due to the allegations through the case and the lack of cooperation from dad, you have notified him. He does know what's going on. It's kind of avoided you at this time. Do you believe it's in the best interest of the children to remove?
Yes, I do.
We discussed a second ago that paternal aunt was kind of involved. I believe the kid stayed with paternal aunt at one point. Is that the only family member that you know of his?
Yes.
Okay. Does Ms. Cruz know, has she been able to provide any information or how to get in touch with him?
She sent me a text message with the phone number that he contacted her on, which was one of the numbers that I tried and wasn't able to. She also provided him with my phone number.
Okay. So he does have your, I mean, he's called you a couple of times, so he does have your contact information.
Yes.
Does aunt know where he's living or staying?
She doesn't.
Okay. But due to allegations and the agreement with mom and dad's on cooperation at this time, you believe is in the best interest of the children for them to stay in temporary managing conservative of the department?
I do.
I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, and Ms. Gomez, do you have any questions?
No questions from me, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Zavala?
No questions.
All right, anything further from this witness, Mr. Trout?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, anybody have any objection to releasing Ms. Braden?
No objection, Your Honor.
No objection.
No objection.
Okay, Ms. Braden, thank you very much for your time. You're free to go on about your day's business.
If it's okay, I'm going to stay. I have to know what happens for my case.
You're certainly welcome to do that.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Trout, you can call your next witness.
I'll call Ms. Grimes just real briefly, Your Honor. And you heard the testimony just then Ms. Braden gave as far as Nicholas Stratton.
Yes, sir.
Have you been in contact with him lately?
No, I have a phone number that I text. And she said she hasn't seen him in a few days. You know, I never have direct contact with him. I just can relay a message, and sometimes he gets it, and most of the time he doesn't give it crap.
And when you say she, who is she?
I'm not even sure who it is.
Okay.
It's an older lady. I don't know.
Okay. Have you been able to provide that phone number to the investigator?
I'm
Or
not
to
sure.
your attorney?
I'm not sure. I think it's one of the ones they have is what I think that's what, but I can't be, I'm not 100% sure.
Okay. Would you be willing to provide that to your attorney so that we can see if we can get a hold of them?
Sure. Do you want it now?
No, we're on YouTube, so I don't want you giving it out over YouTube.
Okay.
If you would just get that to your attorney, she can forward it on.
Okay.
But at this time, do you know where he's staying or living?
I believe he's homeless.
Okay. Do you know where he works?
He hasn't had a job since we've been together.
Okay, so if he's working somewhere you're unaware of.
Correct.
Okay. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Gomez, any questions?
Give me 1 second. I don't know. I have no further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, and Ms. Zavala?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay. Anything further, Mr. Trout?
Nothing further, Your Honor.
All right, does the department rest?
Department rest.
Okay, very good. Ms. Gomez, any witnesses to call today?
No, Your Honor.
All right, do you rest?
I rest.
Okay, Ms. Zavala?
No witnesses, and I will rest.
All right, Ms. Zavala, do you have a recommendation to make?
Yes, Your Honor. At this time, I do believe it's in the girls' best interest to remain in the temporary managing conservatorship of the department. Kelly was able to visit with them in person. They're doing well. I'm all for home studies on either aunt, and hope we can find some family.
All right, thank you. All right, at this time then, I will find the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator. Find that there would be a continuing and ongoing danger to the children to return them home at this time. Appreciate mother's cooperation and willingness to work services. We'll also expect father to work services, but we'll talk more about that at our status hearing. The department will obviously use reasonable efforts to try to reunify the family. And I will order the expedited home study on Ms. Ramos, as was discussed. There'll be no child support or medical support payable by mom at this time, since father is alleged. Can't order that anyway. So we'll cross that bridge down the road. Let me ask just a really quick question for Ms. Braden, since you're still here. Do you know, did you ever get as far with Dad where he would have gotten the paperwork to ask for a court-appointed attorney?
So I told him that we'd meet and that I had all the paperwork up there for him. The paperwork sat up at the front office for a week and he never came up here.
Okay.
But I was gonna say I could mail it, but I don't have a good address for him, so never mind.
Right, and you probably don't have an email address either, do you?
No.
No, okay. Okay,
Judge, can we ask Ms. Grimes real quick if he's got an email?
sure, she knows.
He does have an email. It's anyway, I'll get it later to y'all. But it's on my phone as well, and he hasn't checked it. I think it would just go to me.
If you would get that email address to your attorney also,
Okay.
we'll at least try and see if he'll check it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, then, we'll be back for our status hearing on August 15th of 2024. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. Ms. Grimes, how that works is I have a 9 o'clock in the morning docket and then 1 o'clock docket. So your case will be heard some point that morning, but your attorney will be able to tell you when exactly that will be. So you won't have to necessarily log in right at 9. It's possible your case might be first, but I don't know that at this point. So they'll let you know when you need to log in again. And so you won't be just sitting out there waiting in the waiting room for hours at a time.
Okay, yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Then best of luck to you. You can get started on your services, before the next hearing. You don't need to wait, but we will talk more about the services at the next hearing.
Okay. I'm currently at a treatment center.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Glad to hear that. That's the first great step.
Thanks.
Okay. All right, then I'll see you back in August and good luck to you. All right. Thank you so much, Ms. Gomez. It's a pleasure to get to see you face to face and welcome to our, well, I don't want to call it a circus, although some days it's a circus.
You'll have to excuse the beeping fire alarm. The ceilings are kind of high and I can't get up there without a special ladder. But are there any notes from anybody on things that I could improve on, or like things that you would like to that help sort of this whole deal a little bit better? Because I felt like I didn't do enough for you guys. So what can I help?
Yep, everything's great.
You good?
Okay,
Everything's
very
great.
good. Judge, may I be excused?
You certainly may. And anytime you want to log in and watch some of these, you know that you can just log on to the High Plains Child Protection Court YouTube channel.
Yes,
And
Judge.
if you care to.
Yes, Judge.
There seem to be a lot of people that want to do that, and we don't know why, but
All right. Well, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Look forward to working with y'all.
thank you. You too.
Thank you, ma'am.
We're here today for a status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Galvan's making our record today. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Shay Grants, my primacy specialist, we're present and ready.
Brianna Gomez on behalf of Destiny Grimes, we are ready.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the girls.
All right, and Mr. Stratton is not present. Okay, then what do we have new, Ms. Grant?
The girls are doing great in their foster home. They are placed in Lubbock. They are caught up on their medicals. They're in daycare. They're doing well there. Mom has hit the ground running. She's doing great in her services. She's actually done quite a bit. I'm very proud. She's at 24 hours of parenting classes. She completed her 30-day intensive inpatient treatment in Lubbock. So she's getting ready to start her counseling and rational behavior therapy. She has 2 hours a week in visitation. Those visits are going great. She's very bonded to the girls. She's showing good parenting, so everything's going good so far. With Mr. Stratton, I've not been able to meet with him. We had a bit of a rough start. He says he doesn't want to work services. He did get me an email address. I was able to send him paperwork for an attorney, and also sent him his service plan. He hasn't signed it yet, so. That's where we.
Judge. Yes.
She cut out at the end.
Okay, yeah. Ms. Grant, if you'll just kind of go through the last part of that again.
For Mr. Stratton?
Yes.
Sorry there. Okay, I haven't been able to meet with him. He did provide an email address, so I was able to send him paperwork for an attorney and also his service plan. But he says he doesn't want to work services or anything. I had some visits scheduled for him that he didn't show up to. And so that's where we are with him.
Judge, if I may.
Sure.
Ms. Grant, were you able to send the link for the day?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know whether he received it? Did he respond to you or?
He did respond.
Okay. Just to kind of let the court know, you said y'all kind of had a rough patch.
Yes.
At the beginning. Can you kind of elaborate on that? What you mean?
Well, my initial phone call with him, we scheduled a meeting for me to meet with him face to face, go over the service plan, and he was okay with that. The day of, he became very belligerent through text, cursing me out, saying that none of this was his fault. He wasn't going to work services. He wanted a male caseworker, things like that. And so, I wasn't able to meet with him in person. I didn't feel safe to even attempt to, so.
Okay. And when you say there was a lot of, I guess you would say coarse verbiage through that conversation,
Yes.
name calling, cussing you out, different things throughout those messages. Did that calm down on your last contact with him?
Yes, it did.
Okay.
He texted and apologized for everything. So
Okay.
we've had okay conversations, just haven't been able to meet and he hasn't started anything.
Okay. All right. Thank you, ma'am.
Mhm.
And you said mom did sign her service plans.
She did.
And Judge, mom signed those on July 31st and mom and dad's service plans were filed on August 1st.
What's the status of service on him?
We got him personally served on the 5th.
Okay. August 5th?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And has Ms. Grimes been served?
My notes right now say that she hasn't, but let me look and see if that's been updated since this.
Yeah, I'll take a look too.
I have not.
Okay.
I'm here in Lubbock.
Yeah. All right, Ms. Gomez, one of two things, we can either make arrangements to try to get her served. She's obviously appeared, or if you want to file a answer on her behalf, which she did actually.
Okay.
Take that back. So
yes, I'll accept service on her behalf.
Yeah. And you filed an answer, so we're good. Okay. All right. Anything else in Ms. Grant to report?
No, ma'am, that's it.
All right, then, Ms. Gomez, anything to report or ask questions about today?
Yeah, I kind of just wanted to give Destiny a chance to, again, just briefly describe sort of the strides she's made since kind of coming into contact with DPS, if that's okay.
Absolutely.
Hey, Destiny, you want to go ahead and go through the list of the things you've completed again for the court?
Yes, I've completed the 24 hours of parenting. I've completed the inpatient and I've completed anger management. I start IOP today, the outpatient, intense outpatient at Grace. And I started a part-time job at Dirty Dogs Grooming, bathing dogs. And I do the irrational behavior on the 5th. So that's everything I've done so far.
Okay.
In addition, I'm so sorry. Go ahead, Judge.
No, go ahead.
In addition, have you, taken the extra step and kicked any other vices, maybe such as even cigarettes?
Yes, I did.
Very good. I just wanted to get that out there. And a couple additional questions for you. Destiny, you expressed to me that you would like to have extended times if possible, if I remember.
Yes, I would love that.
And what in your mind would those look like if, if the court can do that at this point?
I get 2 hours a week, so I was hoping for 3 or 4, if that's okay.
Yeah,
Sorry, I muted. Go ahead.
Let me just ask a couple questions.
Yes, Judge.
Has, have we done any additional drug testing on her?
Yes, she did drug screen this month, a negative UA.
Okay. What was the last hair that we did?
The last hair was July 3rd.
It was the initial one.
Okay. All right. What is St. Francis's position about increasing her visitation?
I'm good with increased visitation. We have been short on FSW, so I've been supervising the visits, but she was just contracted out, so I can get with that contractor and see if we can bump it up to 3 hours.
All right, and of course, I want to hear from Ms. Zavala about all that as well before we make a decision, but, okay. All right, so Ms. Zavala?
Your Honor, Kelly was able to meet with the girls in the home, in person. They're doing great. It's a great placement, and I am thrilled with mom's progress at this point. I mean, it sounds like it's really going well. I have no objection to upping those visits for her. It sounds like the visits go well. So I know that there are some logistics in terms of getting somebody to supervise, but I am not opposed to increasing those visits.
Okay, and so Ms. Grimes is in Lubbock, the children are in Lubbock. That certainly makes it easier. So Ms. Grant, if we can kind of, get everybody that needs to be in that loop together and figure out when we can schedule some extra time for her. I'm all in favor of that. Ms. Grimes, you have hit the ground running, and I really appreciate your efforts. And so, we want you to have as much time as we can arrange with the children. Them not being school age yet, that kind of helps. We're not working around school hours, necessarily. But hopefully we can get some extra time worked in. Okay.
Thank you, Judge.
One more small matter. I believe I may be a little bit out of the loop, but I believe we're working on a home study for Destiny's sister. Is that everybody's understanding, or is that news to everyone? Do I need to help that along in any way?
We do have that home study back. It's being reviewed by my supervisor. We got it back on the 12th.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, very good.
This is on maternal aunt.
Henry Robbins.
Okay. So I can't, so Ms. Gomez and Ms. Grimes, I can't answer that question today, but if that home study is approved, then I suspect then that change of placement will be approved. Where will that physically put the children? Will they still be in Lubbock?
Amarillo.
They'll be in Amarillo. So, Ms. Grimes, I want you to weigh that, because it's going to make your visitation more difficult unless you relocate to Amarillo.
I originally wanted it just to get them with family, and I just didn't want them in the system. I've never done this before, so I got scared.
Understand?
Well, we can talk about it. There's no, like they said, that it's in review today, so you and I can have a conversation, and then we'll email the court, hey, this may be a good decision, or this may not be a good decision. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Before we just up and move the kiddos, I'd kind of like everybody to get their heads together on that. Doesn't necessarily have to involve me, but I just want mom to weigh I understand the benefit of the kids being with family. Maybe we don't need to move them right now, Ms. Grimes. Maybe, if we have an approved home study, that's always good in case, it's always good to have in case parents don't get it together, and, then we've got some family to look to. You're not giving me any indicator right now that you're not going to get it together. So, it could be that we can just leave them where they are in Lubbock for the time being. And, that really will make it a lot easier for you to have more time with them as we advance through the case. So just, you all talk about that. So let's don't move the kiddos until we either have some agreement or we all get back together and make a decision about it.
Yes, Judge.
Okay. All right.
May I ask one thing real quick, Yana?
Absolutely.
Ms. Grant, I see, just looking in the file, Ms. Grimes is doing well and has turned over certificates to you of completions. Is there any that you are missing at this time or you need Ms. Grimes to get for you? I know she mentioned quite a few things she has finished or worked on.
Yes, so she did 3 parenting classes this week. So once she gets those certificates, I can get them filed too.
Okay. She mentioned job. Have you got verification on job, pay stubs, or anything like that you need?
Not yet. She just started.
Okay. Ms. Grimes, if you would just remember to give Ms. Grant pay stubs and stuff once you do get your first pay and can get those to her. That's all, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay, so Ms. Grimes, let me just talk to you real quickly. This is our status hearing, and by law, this is the stage of all of this that I have to tell you some things. And so, the main thing is you've signed your service plan, you're working your services. I mean, things, as far as I'm concerned, things couldn't be headed in a better direction right now. I mean, you're doing great, but you need to know failure to work your service plan could result in the children not coming home. And worst case, it can mean termination of your parental rights. So believe it or not, failure to work your service plan is a grounds for termination. And sadly, we terminate parents' rights, more often than what I wish we had to, because they just won't work those service plans and they won't drug test for us. They won't do what they need to do. I have, like I said, no indicator right now that you're going to be one of those, but, staying on top of your sobriety is the absolute key, because you can do everything else, but if you can't stay away from the drugs, I can't send the kids home if you're actively using. So, take that for what it is, which is just a required admonishment that I have to tell you. But I'm very, very encouraged about your progress. And, I don't think we're headed down that road. I think this is all going to have a good conclusion. And, just reach out with both hands and grab all the help that these folks are willing to give you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Judge. I intend to complete services and I don't plan on using it.
Okay, well, and congratulations on quitting smoking.
Thank you.
Better for you, better for the kids.
Yeah, a lot cheaper.
Yeah, and I mean a huge amount of money per month that you can use for other things. So, and I know I've never been a smoker, but I had family that is and was, and I know how difficult it is. So, keep up the good work. You're doing great, and you look great. And you look
Thank
great.
you.
All right, then. I'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator, and I'll continue the children's placement. I'm going to order the service plans as an order of the court. Find that there's a continuing danger to return the children home today, but that mom is very much in compliance and is on a great track. Mr. Stratton is obviously not in compliance at this time. The department will continue to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. And our next hearing will be December 10th of 2024 on a 9:00 docket. All right. Thank you so much. And continued success to you, Ms. Grimes.
Thank you, Judge.
All right.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Grant.
Thank you guys, everybody. Have a great day.
You too. That's a good way to start the day.
Yes, it is.
I really like those.
Makes it all worthwhile.
We're here on our initial permanency hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and Ms. Goodman is making our record this morning. Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Shay Grant's my permanency specialist. We're present, ready.
Brianna Gomez on behalf of Mother Destiny Grimes. We're present and ready, Your Honor.
Okay, have we had
Oh, sorry.
Oh, go ahead, Stacy.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of the girls.
All right, I've got several people logged in by telephone. Have we had any contact with Mr. Stratton yet?
I provided him the link, but he didn't respond to me, so I don't know if it's him or not.
I know one phone number is Mr. Hammond's, but let me bring this other phone number in and just be sure. Who are we going to get an update from?
Ms. Grant, Your Honor.
Okay, what do we have new?
I have mom did complete a UA drug screen on November 21st. It was negative. She has also completed an intensive outpatient program, which that was not a part of her original plan. She took that upon herself to complete. So I think it was like 140 hours. So that is complete. I'm very proud of her for that. And she has completed her individual counseling. The girls are doing great. Mom is at 8 hours of visitation right now. Mom has a great relationship with foster mom, so they were able to coordinate a Thanksgiving Day visit. So she got to spend 8 hours with the girls on Thanksgiving. And they continue to do well in the home. And I think that's all my updates. Still no contact with Dad.
Ms. Grant, what left on her service plan does mom have? What does she have left on there?
She's currently doing a domestic violence support group, and that's it.
That'll be it when she finishes.
She's completed everything else.
Okay. And we went to 8 hours visits in toward the end of November. Is that correct?
Yes.
What is the plan moving forward? Or have y'all staffed? Or is mom getting ready to be able to do any unsupervised visits? Or what are we looking at on that?
We are ready for her to start unsupervised at the same 8 hours a week.
Okay. Do y'all have a step-up plan to when you get to that, or do you know the time frame on when you're going to try to get there?
We're ready right now.
Okay.
And then we'll be working on a reunification plan, hopefully in the next couple of months.
Okay. Is mom working on her housing right now?
Yes. I went to visit her this past Saturday. She has a camper. It is small. There's room for the girls, but it's not her permanent place, and she's going to be working on getting an apartment and things like that. So
when we try to move to the unsupervised, is that going to be try to set it up to like out in a public place, or are they going to be going to the home, I guess you said she's living in a camper right now, to the camper or kind of park or public place, or what are we looking at on that?
yes, either, or if she wants to take the girls out in public somewhere. But I do believe her camper is appropriate.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And just kind of when y'all can get that set up and get things going on that is when you'll move toward that.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Have you had that discussion with mom yet?
Yes.
Okay. And it sounds like other than that, mom's right on track and is doing very well.
She is.
Okay. I'll pass witness, Your Honor.
Okay. All right, Ms. Gomez.
Let's see here. I just want to quickly go through with you the list, or actually, and for the sake of efficiency, Your Honor, I'll ask you to take judicial notice of the permanency report submitted to this court on November 25th of 2024, filed with this court. I'm sorry. Have you had an opportunity to review that report, Your Honor?
Yes, in full.
Very
Every
good.
hearing.
Yes. Yes, Your Honor. Okay. Well, I actually don't have any questions for this witness then. Pass the witness.
Okay. It sounds like mom's doing great. I mean, I'm really pleased. I mean, I think she's really right on track. So, okay, Ms. Zavala.
I have no questions of this witness, Your Honor.
Okay. All right. Ms. Gomez, anything to present today?
Yeah, I'm gonna call two witnesses very briefly, because I know we're a little bit behind, but I think we've kind of all heard and said what the, summary of this hearing is at this point, and we're all kind of happy about that. So briefly, I'll call Tommy Hurtado.
All right, Ms. Gomez, go ahead.
Hi, Tommy. Can you go ahead and let the court know how it is that you know Miss Grimes, Destiny Grimes?
I met Ms. Grimes on July 1st. As a matter of fact, she came through our residential facility and completed it. And then she proceeded immediately into our intensive outpatient program where she has successfully completed it also.
And where is it that you work, Mr. Hurtado?
I work for Grace Manor Treatment Center, substance use treatment center here in Lubbock, Texas.
And how is it that that Miss Grimes engages in services with you? What does that look like?
Well, Ms. Grimes came in on her own. She was not ordered by anybody. She came in on her own. She went through an intensive residential program, which we tried to instill coping mechanisms and different stuff like that in her, and she done really, really well. And then she proceeded, like I said, immediately into our intensive outpatient for another 14 weeks and done really, really well there. I'm proud of her.
When did she complete that intensive outpatient program?
It has been about 2 weeks, I believe, thereabouts.
And about how many hours is that intensive program?
I'm sorry. It's 140 hours of intensive outpatient.
At any point in time during the 140 hours be just in the outpatient, did you have any trouble with Destiny at all?
Not a single bit. This young lady showed up every day as scheduled. She participates fully. As a matter of fact, she's on our planning committee, and we plan different outings and recovery events and potluck dinners and stuff like that. And she's on our steering committee. Also, she's part of our Give Back Friday, which she comes and gives back Friday to the clients in residential and tells how she makes it work and stuff like that.
And in a scenario where, say Miss Grimes, as anyone that battles addiction, say she's having issues with those struggles, have you guys implemented a plan for her to get in contact with you, some of your service providers, to take care of that issue?
We certainly do, ma'am. She, as a matter of fact, has completed 2 separate relapse prevention plans, one in our residential setting and then one in our outpatient setting, where it's a plan of action where she gains support throughout her episode here. She gains support with the community where she's involved. She goes to meetings and she has some outside support now. We have a 6-month aftercare program also available to our clients where they can come 6 months after they graduate in intensive outpatient. They have 6 more months of free service that they can come to anytime as needed.
Mr. Hurtado, is there anything that you would like this court to hear about Destiny's progress that I haven't covered with you?
Well, just a little bit that I was listening to. It sounds like everything I agree with. She has some very good coping mechanisms that have worked for her stress levels. She has maintained her sobriety throughout this whole episode. She has done very, very well as far as changing behaviors and things like that might have caused her issues before that haven't seemed to be a problem for her. She's really done well.
Appreciate your time, Mr. Hurtado. I have no further questions, Your Honor. I pass the witness.
All right, Ms. Gomez, excuse me, Ms. Gomez, Ms. Zavala, do you have any questions for her?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
Okay, Ms. Trout, any questions?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, Mr. Hurtado, I appreciate your attendance today. Thank you. Is Mr. Hurtado free to go?
He's free to go, and I just have one more quick witness to call.
Okay, Mr. Hurtado, you're free to go. You're welcome to stay.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, sir. All right, Ms. Gomez.
Your Honor, at this time I call very quickly. Let's see, Kimberly Elder.
Okay, you may proceed.
Hi, Miss Elder. Can you let me know where it is that? Can you let me know where it is that you currently work? Or you're currently employed. I'm sorry.
I also am employed at Grace Manor Residential and Outpatient Treatment Services.
And how is it that you know Destiny Grimes?
I'm an intern and I do the individual sessions with outpatient clients. So I do her individual sessions.
And about approximately how long have you known Destiny? Have you worked with her?
I met her also in inpatient treatment. At that time, I was a clinical technician, so I worked directly with her on a daily basis, just caring for her needs. And then when she moved to outpatient, I was a counselor at that point, and so I met with her 1 hour a week every week for the last 14 weeks. She just graduated.
So you've been with her entire journey, it sounds like.
Yes.
Good. And since the beginning of your journey to now, have you noticed improvement in her overall coping with the underlying issues at hand?
Absolutely. I have absolutely witnessed her grow.
I'm not going to stop the court too much longer, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to sort of, in general, just anything we may have missed as far as Miss Grimes and what you've noticed about her and what we've discussed as far as this case goes.
I can give one more piece of information. She recently started getting to have these supervised visits here. So on Mondays, I've been supervising those visits, and her interaction with the children is amazing. The children love her. She's been so great with them. She stays calm, cool, and collected. Like, she's done really well.
Very good. Kimberly, I don't have any further questions for you, Judge. I pass the witness.
All right, Mr. Trout, any questions?
I have no questions, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Zavala.
No questions, Your Honor.
All right. Okay, same thing. Anybody have anything further from Ms. Elder or object to her being able to go on about her day?
No, that's totally fine.
Okay, Ms. Elder, appreciate it. Thank you for all the good work you're doing.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good day. All right, Ms. Gomez, anything further?
I don't think anything further is necessary, Your Honor.
Okay.
I'd rest and close.
Ms. Grimes, it sounds like you're just doing great. So I want to hear from Ms. Zavala, and then let's address kind of how we're going to move forward.
Your Honor, Kelly got to go out yesterday and observe the visit between mom and kids. Went really well. Destiny had some really good, thoughtful questions about how reunification may work and some issues that may come up. I have no doubt that mom and the department and everybody can come up with a good reunification plan. And it sounds like mom's really doing what she needs to, and she's thinking through wanting to make sure that it definitely works, and so I feel like we're getting there, and it'll be good.
Okay. All right, then, Ms. Grant, I think we need to move forward. I mean, I think we're where we need to be. So let's get whoever together and let's start working on a reunification plan. All right, then. So for today, I'm going to continue the department as temporary managing conservator. I'm going to order the reunification plan, be implemented. I'm not going to find that there's a continuing danger to the children to be returned to their mother. We just need to get that plan in place and start working them in. Find that she's very much in compliance with everything. And, let's see what we can work out between now and Christmas and get her some time at Christmas. And, see kind of what all we can work out with that. And I'll see everybody back April 3rd. I'm anticipating that these kiddos will be home long before that date. So hopefully, Ms. Grimes, the next time we get together, kids will be at home with you. And I wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you, Judge.
Okay. So, Ms. Grant, work your magic.
I will.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge. Thank you, Shay.
We are here on an adversary hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We are live streaming, and Ms. Galvan is making our record. All right, we will go ahead and take announcements. Then I need to visit with Mr. Meeks.
Daniel Trout for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. We're present, ready, Your Honor.
Brooks Barfield, attorney for Tessa Helms, present and ready. She is currently detained in the Potter County Detention Center. However, I spoke with her extensively this morning, and I'm here to announce that we are going to agree that she is willing to work services.
All right, thank you, Mr. Barfield. Okay, Mr. Meeks is present. Ms. Zavala, go ahead and announce, and then we'll come back to Mr. Meeks.
Stacey Zavala on behalf of the child.
Okay, Mr. Meeks, you do have the right to have an attorney represent you in this case. Have you been given the paperwork to apply for a court-appointed attorney? And you'll have to unmute.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, and have you filled that out yet?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Are you, do you want to visit with the state's attorney in this matter before we proceed? Or, you know, it's, if there's
No,
some
Your Honor.
agreement you can make, or we have to reset this. And if you're wanting an attorney to represent you before we get into this hearing.
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Do you want the opportunity to speak with the state's attorney, or are you just saying, are you telling me you are in agreement with the child being in the temporary custody of the department?
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, you're in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right then. I think it would be very helpful, Mr. Meeks, to you to go ahead and fill out that paperwork and get it sent in. Because I think for you to have an attorney in this matter, you know, will help you in the future.
Yes, Your Honor.
So I'd recommend that you go ahead and do that and turn that into your worker, and then they'll get it to my office. All right then, Mr. Trout, then we ready to announce an agreement that the parents have agreed to name the department temporary managing conservator to work services. No child support or medical supports being sought at this time, I assume?
No, ma'am, no medical or child support. But yes, an agreement to temporary managing conservatorship to the department, parents to work services.
Okay. Mr. Meeks, let me just ask you, since you're here, and Mr. Barfield's probably asked these same questions of his client, Ms. Helms, but are you and Ms. Helms married?
No, Your Honor.
Okay. Have you ever been to court over this child?
No, Your Honor.
All right. Do you believe that you're the father of the child, or are you going to want genetic testing in this case?
I'm not 100%, but yes, I would like genetic testing
Okay.
just to be on the safe side.
All right. We'll go ahead and get that in the works. It takes a little while, but you know, then you'll get notified of where you need to appear. I know you live in the Wichita Falls area. So,
Yes, Your Honor.
you know, I'm sure we can arrange that you can appear somewhere there locally. And then we'll get that done. Okay. All right.
And Judge, just before we go, could you put me in a breakout room, Ms. Swihart, once we're done? I think I got a question for her.
Yeah. All right, at this time, then I will find the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of the child. Find that there would be a continuing danger to return the child home at this time, that the department is to use reasonable efforts to reunify the family. I will order genetic testing on Mr. Meeks and the child. And approve the agreement for no child support or medical support at this time. Obviously, we can't set up visits with mom right now, but Mr. Meeks, the permanency specialist on this case, will be getting with you and arranging for what kind of visitation we can work out. May have to be virtual right now, and I know that's going to be very difficult since the child's nonverbal. But at the distance, you know, until either you can travel part of the way or we can figure out some other way for you to have contact with the child, it may be virtual.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you could at least see her and check in on her and that kind of thing.
And Judge, if I may, just for the workers' benefits, there are criminal charges currently pending, obviously involved in this case. So, and she has Daryl Carey is her criminal defense attorney in that regard. And I did advise her, as I would, that Mr. Carey would probably advise her not to speak about the facts of the case. However, I advised her also that if you bring out any HIPAA forms or any forms she needs to sign to move the case forward, she's going to be willing to sign that as well. But I also told her to keep her mouth shut because of the criminal case. So I don't want anybody getting mad at her if she refused to talk about the case, because I told her not to at this point.
We all understand that. So.
Okay. All right. But I did tell her to sign any HIPAA forms or any medical forms that the department, St. Francis, may need so that they can get her medical background and anything they may not have. Because I understand this child has some issues.
All right. I appreciate that. And certainly she's got her Fifth Amendment rights. So, okay. I'll see everybody back for our status hearing on August 9th, or excuse me, August 29th. Yeah, 29th of 2024. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Meeks. I appreciate you logging in today, and thank you for your cooperation, sir.
No, thank you.
And Judge, if I may speak with Ms. Swihart real quick.
I have not. I don't have Mr. Nowak logged in. Did you get a signature from him by any chance?
No, ma'am. Let me see.
It's just unusual that he isn't present.
Is he?
Judge, I just
Judge.
appointed him this morning, so I meant to tell you that he won't be
I
present.
didn't know he was on this case. That's what I was.
Yeah,
looking
no.
for.
Okay, yeah, I had him listed one place and not the other, and that's what I wondered. Okay. All right. We're here today on our status hearing. We're conducting this through Zoom. We're live streaming, and I'm recording to the Zoom cloud. I don't have a recorder this morning.
Judge, I'm looking for Heidi Elliott or Heidi
Come.
Come. Yes, ma'am. Come.
Okay, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Daniel Trial for the Texas Department of Family and Protective Services. Heidi Combs is my permanency specialist. We're present and ready.
Brooks Barfield, present and ready for Tessa Helms. It's my understanding she's still incarcerated in Potter County Detention Center at this particular time, Your Honor.
Stacy Zabala on behalf of Delphinia.
Okay. All right. Ms. Combs, if you want to give us an update.
Keith and Tessa both signed their family plans of service and they agreed to their services. Keith did fill out and sign an attorney request form, and I sent that in August 26th, but I haven't heard back. Delphinia's caught up on her appointments. She's doing really well. She's got screened to be she was referred to speech therapy, and they're waiting for a speech therapist to start working with her. I've tried to contact maternal great grandparents on 8-5 for possible placement. Their numbers are disconnected. I sent a letter to them, but I haven't heard a reply back. So I'm still looking for possible placement.
Okay. Parents don't have any better phone number or anything like that?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, have either of them started scheduling services?
Tessa's currently incarcerated. I spoke with her yesterday or the day before, and she said that they do offer some parenting classes in anger management in Potter County, so she's going to look into those.
Okay.
But Keith has not. I don't believe he's initiated any services currently. I did send him the link to today's hearing, but I'm not for sure if he logged on.
Is there anything else we can get out to mom that she can be doing while she's incarcerated?
There in Potter County, it's limited what they're offered.
Okay. Okay. Right, Mr. Barfield.
Honestly, Judge, mom's gonna try to work services as much as she can out in Potter County, but again, Potter County is kind of a wasteland of services for CPS, unfortunately. So I mean, hopefully, I don't know that she's going to be able to make bond. Daryl Carey is her criminal law defense attorney, and I'll contact him kind of during this period to see what kind of status she's going to have on her case, and then just kind of try to move from there, Judge. That's all we can do, I think, at this point.
Okay. All right, and obviously, Mr. Novak was just appointed to represent Mr. Meeks this morning. Okay. So that has happened. Whether or not they've had any contact yet, probably not. So, okay, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, Delphinia is placed outside of Houston in a foster home, seems to be settling in and doing better. She was having significant problems sleeping before, but that's getting some better. She really needs that speech therapy, but that's getting set up. I would ask Heidi if you encounter any problems in that to please let me know. And know she's going through all sorts of evaluations. I've got no concerns about placement at this time. I think they're getting her what she needs. The one follow-up question I have, Ms. Combs has probably already answered. It was about grandmother Betty. I assume that's the grandmother that you were talking about not being able to reach.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I just didn't know if that was the same person. I was going to ask about that. There was also a mention of somebody named Danielle who could help out if needed.
I can I'll do an accurate search on her and see if her name will. I did ask when I talked to Keith yesterday. I did ask him if he had any relatives that could be possible placement. He didn't want her placed with any relatives of his.
So, Your Honor, at this time, I recommend that placement continue.
Okay. All right, then. I will continue the department as temporary managing conservator. I'll continue the child's current placement, find there be a continuing danger for the child to be returned to either parent at this time, and order the service plans as an order of the court. And then we will be back for our initial permanency hearing on December 12th on a 9 o'clock docket. So 12/12 of 24, 9 o'clock on our initial permanency hearing. We are conducting this through Zoom under a finding of good cause and agreement of the parties. We're live streaming, and Ms. Taylor's making our record. All right, we'll go ahead and take announcements.
Melinda Powell for the department, the St. Francis Permanency Specialist. Today is Heidi Elliott.
Vince Nowak for Keith Meeks. Judge, I have had zero contact with my client. The phone number I have tells me he's not available and the mailbox is full. I've sent him emails and no response, but I am here and I'm as ready as I possibly can be. Thank you, Judge.
Behaviour Red sitting in for Brooks Barfield, and I'm here to represent Tessa Helms.
Stacy Zavala on behalf of Delphinia.
All right, Ms. Helms is present. Okay, what do we have new since the court report was filed?
Delphina's doing really well on her placement. The placement's able to she got her in school. She goes to early education. She goes half a day. She has started speech therapy. She will start occupational therapy soon. She was evaluated for autism, and she has moderate autism, and she'll start therapy for that soon also. She's very well bonded with the foster family. And Keith, like Vincent said, I've not been able to have contact with him for 2 months. He hasn't logged into his visits with Delphina since October.
And how's Miss Helms doing?
Miss Helms is doing good. She was released the 22nd. She has reached out to my parent support worker to setting up her services. She's currently staying with some friends. So far, she's doing what she's asked to do.
Okay, so when was she released? The court report has that she was incarcerated. So
yeah, she was released 11/22.
And you said she has reached out to begin engaging in services?
Yes.
Do you know if she's begun any services at this time, or if she tried to set up any services? Are you aware of anything?
We are working with her to get them set up. We just started talking with her yesterday on getting them set up.
Okay, so while she is not in compliance due to her incarceration, she is at this point in time willing to begin engaging.
Yes, ma'am. She did do a couple of classes while she was in the detention center. She does have certificates for those, but I'm not for sure if those will be adequate enough. So we're just setting her up with some extra services like parenting and.
Judge, I hate to put she's not in compliance due to her circumstances. Would it be appropriate to say she's in partial compliance, or I'll let you determine that language you want in this order.
Okay.
Thank you. Is anything else, Ms. Elliott?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Okay, Miss Rudd.
I just wanted to say, I guess I should probably call Tessa to the stand, but she has taken a UA and a hair follicle drug screen. She's putting in job applications. She's waiting on a referral for counseling, but she is doing everything she can do. I mean, she hit the ground running the day she got out of jail. She's working on doing everything she needs to do to get her life together.
Okay. All right, Mr. Noah.
No questions, Judge. Thank you.
All right, Ms. Zavala.
Your Honor, the child's doing really well. She got hooked up with a ton of different services, some good speech therapy, occupational therapy, schools, really good. She's still pretty terrified of water, and they do kind of short showers to kind of take care of that. But I want to check on two things. I think there was a reference very early on in the case about a home study on family in Dalhart. I just want to double, triple check. I don't want that to come up at the end of the case if that's something we need to look into. And the other thing, I'm glad to hear Mom has jumped right in. I think it would be really important that she gets all the information on speech therapy, occupational therapy, how, any of the evaluations for autism. I think Mom needs to be plugged into that so she knows how to address those needs.
I would agree. That'll be very important moving forward. So, Ms. Elliott, I think to the extent that we can, I would like to loop Mom in on some of that.
Yes, ma'am. I talk to Tess about 1 or 2 times a week, and I let her know every update that I receive from the foster mom.
But can we arrange where she would actually start being present for some of those therapies?
Yes,
okay.
I think the biggest problem in this case that brought Tessa and Delphina into the system is that Tessa just didn't have the resources that she needed. Yeah. She didn't know what kind of help she could get, so she wasn't getting any help, and she was trying to do it on her own with no knowledge, and no information and no help. And we need to get her all the help that she needs and all the resources available to her to help her be able to provide for this job.
Does she still have charges pending?
Tessa, you pled, correct? And you're on probation? That's my understanding?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So that's, other than fulfilling your probation, then you're done with that. Okay.
And in theory, probation will also help get her some resources. Just depending.
How long are you on probation for?
4 years. Okay. So I will be finished 2028.
Okay. All right. Then, Ms. Powell, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that Ms. Helms is in partial compliance, but is engaged in services at this time. I will find a continuing danger to return the child home today. I'll continue the department as temporary managing conservator and continue placement. And then I'll see everybody back for our next hearing on April 3rd of 2025. That'll be on a 9 o'clock docket. So Ms. Helms, just, keep, hitting the ground running on all this stuff and it may seem like you've got lots and lots of time left, but it goes really quickly. So work hard on it. All right. Okay. Appreciate everybody. And I will see you back April 3rd.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay.